Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 334. This is your guide to the geek side, and I'm your host, Todd Oxtra, in the Batcave with my partner in crime, Charlie Carden.
What's up? I'm sporting my new condom on my microphone tonight. It's not as disgusting as it sounds. But no,
you upgraded your Burger King drive-thru headset.
Whopper! Remember that old Dane Cook routine? Is when he worked at Burger King?
Yes.
My brother was a dick as a manager. He thought he was the king. Yes. Can I have some soy sauce?
Yeah, first.
Where do I go? You drive on the road that you're on.
Thank you, Kool-Aid Man. Yes.
Oh my God.
Dane Cook. Wow, his comedy is probably not aged well.
I believe it's fairly time sensitive, and the time was 2003.
Correct, when he was doing all those great movies with Jessica Alba and
oh yes,
somebody else.
Best of Luck, Chuck, or Good Luck. I saw that not that long ago.
Yeah.
It was not good.
That seems to be a trend lately with movies we've watched, Charlie. So we're back. We're just having more fun. This week, though, our big topic will be the Loki spoiler-filled review at the end for the whole season. So we'll talk about the end. Obviously, spoilers will carry through. But before that point, we'd love it if you subscribed on YouTube to see more of our beautiful faces. We'd love it if we get 100 subs. We get a custom URL, which is easy to use. And also, we're going to put something else more out about that as a special episode. But we have gone away from Podomatic. We're now completely on a new podcast feed. So everything's out there, solo feeds, group feeds, so you get everything you want. And we'd love it if you subscribe on iTunes and give us a review. So if you can do that, we'll be best friends forever.
Be subscribing. I love it. So, and the other thing that I love, and I'm going to freely admit that I did zero research, but I was grabbed by this image, is this week's comic. This is The Incredible Hulk, issue number 334 from the sweltering summer of 1987. So this is now almost 35 years gone by. It's a picture of the Gray Hulk. So this was the Peter David era, or thereabouts.
Peter David was three issues away from this.
Oh, he picked up in the gotcha. But it was the Gray.
He made Mr. Fix-It, which was an incarnation.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Gray Hulk, and that was Peter David brought that in. But what do I know? Because I never read the Hulk. People always, they see comic stuff and they just assume we Marvel people, we read every single title. I don't know much about the Hulk at all. I do know that the Hulk had a penchant for introducing weird villains. That's what I know.
The UFOs.
The UFOs and Zizzax and just a lot of bizarro ones. But anyway, in this image, the Hulk is punching his fist through what looks like a goblin that looks like he's made out of algae or something. So it's like a picture tells 1,000 words. I mean, let's Todd a comic book cover. Todd, what's your take on this? Assuming that you've not read it before.
I think I know what this one is, though. I think he's in the realm of the nightmares, and I apologize. This was Peter David and Todd McFarlane. So interesting.
Oh, okay. Oh, is that a McFarlane cover though? I know it doesn't. It does not look like one.
No. Yeah. But if I'm right, at this point, I thought Hulk was in kind of like the nightmare realm, and kind of fighting some things, but I could be wrong. I don't know. It kind of looks like Nightmare.
I don't know. It's a nightmare for me because it's kind of a gross one. And my tag is that's going to leave a mark, or Kark, which is Mark with a C, aka my co-host on Holocron Chronicles.
I don't think he likes that, Charlie. I really don't think he does.
Are you sure? Should we ask him?
Because it sounds too much like something else. So, you might want to revise that, because he'll start calling you something you get annoyed by, because you love people when they call you by certain variations of Charlie.
It's going to be like the Good Luck Chuck. Are you trying to say?
Call you Chaz.
Oh, it's so stylish, though. Though I certainly do not want to end up like Scott Baio.
No, not at all. Not in charge of that situation. No. So if you want to check out Marvel Unlimited, to check out The Incredible Hulk 334 for a good time with the Gray Hulk. at the old time.
Yes. And speaking of a good time in the old, let's just focus on the word old. Seems like it's time for us to transition over to have a chat with our favorite senior news correspondent. That's right, Madam Webb. So without further delay, Madam Webb, take it away.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Yes, you've recovered from us having a new face on Secret Friends. You're gracious. You and Aaron are actually going to go on a date to the Hobby Lobby and find patterns and make some cozies for like toilet paper and toasters, right?
I think with Aaron, my co-host, of course, on Code 47, it would be more like koozies for the beer. But you don't know. They have multiple applications.
They can be Star Trek cats if you want them to be. That's perfectly fine.
that is her saying. She does dig on that. I'd hear you. So, all right, what do we got? What do we got going on this week? It's a mixed bag as always.
So we got 5 news stories this week, thanks to Madam Webb. And one of the first stories is. We think we're over the slump of the box office because theaters are opening, big movies are coming out finally, and we're finding it's kind of a mixed bag because Black Widow opened last weekend with like $80 million plus, doing great. Things are all firing on all cylinders, and then we find out week 2 was a different story. It's the biggest drop for an MCU movie for week 1 to week 2 ever. Down to like 25 million, 24 million, somewhere in that range, I think.
Drop of over 65%, which your average drop, and because Todd, you and I have been versed in studying the box office and what does a single week drop look like? Like it may drop 40%, or it may drop 30% from week 1 to week 2, and then the drop just gets bigger because you don't really have that repeat business. But for a Marvel film to drop between 65 and 70% from week 1 to week 2 it's disastrous. It's absolutely disastrous. But when you stop and really consider the facts of this, and this was a story I shared this morning or yesterday, whatever it is, Disney is really eating their own lunch on this one because they are their own competition for this film.
Mm-hmm. In a way, yeah. I mean, definitely. And the way the theater distribution model works, week 1. Marvel gets 90%, or Disney gets 90% of the box office take. Theaters get 10%. Then every week it shifts into the theater's favor. And that's why it's so important that movies stay in a theater longer for the theaters to actually make more money towards it. And so that's where the days of streaming and things going only for 45 days, and then they go to streaming, is scary for the theaters because they don't have the opportunity potentially to even keep a movie long enough where they actually recoup money on it. They're making money off the concessions, but if not as many people are going because they can go elsewhere, it's really a natural disaster waiting to happen. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I mean, and Disney has not released any additional information on the Premier Access portion. Week 1, it was 2 million people that spent $60 million total for that. I don't know, though, how much they saw the following week after that. They're also talking because the Premier Access has actually allowed more piracy because people can watch it at home, record it, and put it out there for people to watch for free. Or, and quite honestly, with Disney Plus, more people can share access. So for $30, for $30 that you say, you might be sharing that to 30, 40, 50 friends. So ultimately, that may not be Disney long-term subscribers, so this one's a difficult one. And I worry that this might not be great for either people because ultimately this movie is expected to when it leaves the box office, projections are about $200 million domestic, which is the same as Thor Dark World. Right.
So it's taken a step back into the Middle Ages of MCU box office, but the question is the lightning really out? Is the toothpaste out of the tube? Can you not get it back in? I mean, if Disney doesn't do the Premier Access for the next film or the next series of films or whatever it is that going to force people to go see it at the box office?
Yeah.
And again, it's going to be a business decision made by Disney. Are they going to be like, well, are we making more money if we're keeping it in pocket? Or are we making it more money by having this wide distribution, blah, blah, blah? It's tough. You know that I have personal ties with our local theater
Mm-hmm.
chain here in Michigan, the Celebration Cinemas. I have friends and associates that I have going back for quite some time, and that's just got to be devastating for them because again they don't have the choice. And I remember having a conversation with my associate Ron, who since retired from Celebration Cinema, him describing to me this model of how Disney takes their dollars, and they really do hold the theaters hostage because what else are they going to do? Not release the biggest films in the world? I mean, even to get 10% of that, 10% of something is better than 10% of nothing. Yeah, so it's challenging.
And I think there's opportunities here. You're a member of a movie pass for your local theater, which means you get to see more movies, which I understand why that's popular, and I expect that maybe to grow because they know they're not making a lot of... It's like a gas station. Gas stations don't make a lot off the gas. They make a lot off what you buy in their store. They want to come inside. So same thing there. So I could see them saying, we potentially may lose a little bit of out-of-pocket money from... like what we'd make from the movies, but if people are coming and seeing more movies, potential to buy more soda, popcorn, food, go to a restaurant within the movie theater is high. So I think that could be a change. And Charlie, quite honestly, I think an opportunity is really in live events getting streamed to the theater. Broadway productions that people can't see because they don't live in New York.
Right.
And that's pay-per-view.
That's Fathom Events does those because you'll see those in trailers like "Come see La Boheme," blah blah blah, or this and that. And it's just like,
Doctor Who special events. Yeah,
right, exactly. Well, they did those back when they were doing big Blu-ray HD releases of some of the big Star Trek: The Next Generation stuff.
Yeah,
I went with a group of friends to see The Best of Both Worlds, the Borg two-parter, the one where, Picard gets kidnapped and becomes a Borg. On the big, it was still in 4:3, but it was on a big screen. And, and so that was exciting. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, you've got to make things that you're like, or re-releases like, come see the original Star Wars trilogy, blah, 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 or come see, these Star Trek movies or these Lord of the Rings is back again. You know what I mean? So events that are going to be a draw that, I could watch it at home, but for your diehards that want to see it on the big screen, that's going to be the draw. So it will be interesting to see how it plays out. But again, once Warner is not doing what they're doing with HBO Max, which is dumping those same day, which we benefited. That kept me from having to go see Space Jam 2.
I believe fly away from the theater.
Yeah.
I didn't bring R. Kelly back, Charlie? How could that happen?
He was busy with other obligations, if you catch me.
Yes, he was booked.
Oh, yeah. Oh!
Book him, Dano. Yeah, so, I mean, we know Disney, I think their last movie that's actually going to be part of this experimentation with Premier Access is Jungle Cruise. After that, they're not committing to anything. They could change, though. It's not like they have to do anything. And then HBO Max has said this experiment to do in theater, the day and date, is only in 2021. So maybe it will change back. Maybe we'll see it. But I don't know if either Shang-Chi or Eternals will be a tail of the tape. It's really going to be Spider-Man. But Spider-Man was never going to be on Premier Access. Anyways.
Right, because it's Sony. Yeah, exactly.
And Sony doesn't have really a service like that to begin with. And I think Disney, they're going to continue with their after 6 months it comes to Disney Plus, which I don't know if people really want to wait 6 months to get it for free.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it could be a stretch. So I don't. But back in the old days with HBO, they had to wait a year. So
absolutely. Yeah. It was like DVD, VOD, then finally would come to like HBO a year later, and then finally
Right, and then it's just we don't live in that kind of society anymore. Everybody's like now.
Yes. So Charlie, next story is kind of an interesting take, and this is going to be a very quick. Do we agree or do we not agree? So right now, Syfy put out their top 25 scariest sci-fi movies ever made, from Aliens to Invisible Man, ranked. So very quickly, we're just going to go through this because this is kind of a preview to our Shocktoberfest, which happens in October. But this is kind of like that. It's kind of like when you have Christmas in July. Well, this is Halloween in July for us. But very quickly, I want to go through this list, and if there's anything you see here, like we should watch that in Shocktober, it gives us a mental note. So we'll go through this and see if you agree or disagree. So I'm going to start at the top, Charlie. Number 25, Possessor. Came out in 2020. David Cronenberg's son made this. I heard it's gross. I wouldn't agree.
Never heard of it, so I can't. Yeah. So
I can't agree.
Number 24. This looks like Guy Pearce in this picture. The Hidden, low budget sci-fi movie with Kyle MacLachlan.
Oh wow!
Really? I'd give it a crack. And is number 20? Is that Nicolas Cage?
Yeah. So I mean, I have not seen The Hidden, but that might be an add-on, Charlie.
Right. All right. What about number 23? Is that Nicolas Cage? Looks like him.
No, I don't think so. Color Out of Space. Richard Stanley made this movie. Oh, it does star Nicolas Cage as Nathan Gardner. Oh boy, battling a mutant organism from space.
Pass. All right, 22. Prometheus. Seen it?
No, it's not scary.
It's been a long time. Yeah, it's not scary.
It's not scary.
Slither, which is 21, is kind of gross. But I know that you love it. I don't know. What do you think?
It's more gross and cringeworthy than really scary. It's up there, kind of like the goofy kind of take of an 80s movie. So I don't know if it's scary, but I guess it could if you're scared of gross things. I guess
Pitch Black is number 20. It came out in 2000 with Vin Diesel. I would just chuckle my way through it, so I don't really see how I could find it scary.
It's not great. I wouldn't say it's scary either. It's more like a thriller than scary.
Mm-hmm. 19 is Altered State. William Hurt doing experiments to cause himself to genetically regress into a trippy, nightmarish ways. That doesn't sound scary.
I mean, it could be like one of those body horror things, maybe, where he's regressing and turning into like an organism, like a amoeba. Maybe
could be.
I don't know.
Cloverfield is number 18. There are parts of that are kind of scary, and
I never saw it.
No, then you should watch it. I would watch it.
The scary part is because there's a lot of things in the dark, and you don't know it's kind of like you don't know what you're facing, right? Yeah,
right, exactly. Sea Fever from 2019 is a spin on The Thing crossed with Jaws.
Okay.
Never heard of it, so I'm going to have to say maybe not so much.
10 Killers. Those are popular in 2021.
Yeah, exactly. 10 Cloverfield Lane is number 16. I have seen this one. I didn't think it was particularly scary. I think John Goodman was the villain. And
he kind of wasn't, right?
Yeah. So no, he was. You saw it, didn't you?
I did. But it was kind of like people thought he was lying, though. That was the whole thing. Is it really real? And it's like, actually, it is real, but he's still a creepo. So it was kind of a mixed bag, but
really real.
It was a psychological thriller.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it was like, what the hell's going on? So I was impressed, but not real scared.
I did not make it all the way through Scanners, I don't think, or maybe I've just seen this clip where the guy's head blows up. Came out in 81. This was David Cronenberg. Do you know David Cronenberg has a recurring role on Star Trek Discovery now?
Yes.
He's one of the holograms. Yeah, he's one of the Starfleet holograms. I think that's
I thought he was a real person and he uses holograms. No, he's like a doctor, right?
Yeah, but the other doctor, the guy in white who wears a bow tie, he's a hologram. You know what? We just watched it for Code 47, and I don't remember if he was real or not. I'll have to do some research.
No, he's a real guy. He used that hologram that would be the lie detector for...
Right. Yeah. Look at you. Better memory than
Scanners, I've got that movie, and I want to watch it. I never have, but it's supposed to be really crazy.
Yeah. So, you know what? I would take that on and watch that. But Us from 2019, scary as hell.
Oh my God. I agree.
Yeah. Happy Death Day is number 13.
I need to see it.
It's a little, and the sequel goes in a totally ridiculous direction.
It's Groundhog's Day, right? Just with somebody dying
basically,
every day.
With a pretty girl. Attack the Block. We just saw this one. It taught me to say the word bruv instead of bro. So I'll give it that because I say that all the time. Yeah, no, it's John Boyega. Before his life was ruined by Star Wars. I thought it was, and again, it's in the dark. There's a lot of shit jumping around. So yeah, absolutely.
It's like Goonies. It's a lot like Goonies, or maybe Kids versus Aliens is the best way to put it.
Kids first. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Number 11. Number 11 is Predator, and yes, I will tell you, I was 11 years old when this came out. Scary as shit to an 11. I mean, there are skinned human beings. Yeah. There's exploding, limbs and spinal cords being torn out. Definitely scary stuff.
And Jesse Ventura.
Yeah,
he's scary enough.
I ain't got time to bleed. You're
from governor of Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly. And Arnie, governor of California. Number 10. Absolutely sci-fi horror top shelf. Event Horizon from 97. Yikes!
That was the era of Sam Neill. For some reason, he got to be in all these freaky horror films, and The Mouth of Madness was one of them. I believe another one was called Lord of Illusions. I think he was in Lord of Illusions. But it was
that was Bacula.
Bacula? Okay. Yeah. But yeah, that era of like, let's just put people in these really horrific, like almost Cthulhu-esque era, and this one was in space, like a space horror film. There hasn't been like a really scary space film since probably Aliens, and this one kind of picked up that ball and ran with it. Yeah.
Exactly. So, Todd, Quiet Place, did you get around to watching the 1-2 punch?
Yes, I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I loved it.
You
did? And it was spooky.
Yeah. I would say it definitely has. It's the jump scare, particularly because the little girl is deaf, so something will be moving and she doesn't see it. So yeah, that's definitely scary. So Annihilation, I think we saw this one. Yeah, we saw it in the theaters. Because it's Natalie Portman and then Poe Dameron. So it's two Star Wars people. Didn't really blow me away.
Weird. I heard it was very weird.
Didn't really blow me away. But what did blow me away, quite literally, was The Terminator, which came out when I was 8 years old. So low budget. This was James Cameron's springboard to doing Aliens and then to just becoming a superstar. Yeah. But yeah, low budget, killer robot that looks like a person movie. So yeah, top shelf, love it all the time. Oh my God, I scrolled past down to the next one, which we watched a couple of years ago, and Donald Sutherland here looks like Kate Blanchett looking like Bob Dylan.
Oh, I thought that was Jeff Goldblum actually in the YouTube clip.
Looking like Jeff Goldblum. Look at that. Yes. So no, yeah, I thought that movie was crazy scary. I'm totally down.
Very well done too, and it had a lot of iconic scenes. You're like, I don't know what that's from, but now I do now.
Exactly. So The Invisible Man, this was with the spectacular Elizabeth Moss. More jump scary stuff. I didn't think it was super well made.
It felt like one of those Julia Roberts. What was that one Julia Roberts movie where she
Sleeping with the Enemy? Sleeping with the Enemy. Where she escapes. Was it that? Like,
I don't know. It was one. Yeah, she left and she tried to escape her husband, who finally tracked her down. Yep. Exactly like that, except the guy wears a bodysuit and is invisible. Sorry, spoilers.
Right. Well, it's called The Invisible Man, so if you didn't catch that.
That would have been one of the last movies that I saw before the pandemic started.
Oh, you know what? You're right, too. That was right before we had to, cut off our VIP. So I watched this movie last week. I've seen it, and it's funny. We were talking with John Sierra, but he's never seen this movie. He says, I have no desire, but this is a family classic. Aliens is, and again, I just referenced it.
Family classic. It makes it sound like it's fun for the whole family, Charlie.
No, it's fun for my family, going back to, because I was 10 when this came out. But yeah, Aliens was James Cameron's real big leap into, high-end, high-budget, but yeah, sci-fi horror, and yeah, just a lot of like the damn aliens coming out of the pipes and all this stuff, and you can't kill them, and it was absolutely crazy. So great flick.
Yeah, it was such a change from an individual alien that it was almost like a whodunit or trying to figure out who the killer is or survival. This was like an all-out war film, and you were just being inundated. So it was such a weird twist, and then Aliens have since then kind of fallen off where they wanted to go. And just got
it's one of those franchises, just like Terminator has just been, you're beating the dead horse. You're still trying to find a couple of extra bucks. So, but one that really hasn't been, even though it had a very lackluster sequel, is number 3, The Fly from 1986. Again, David Cronenberg.
Yes.
This is a movie I had to leave the room when it was playing when I was a kid. Like, I would leave the room and I remember once my brother was watching, I had to leave the room and I started doing my homework. That's how I needed to find any other thing to do. This movie
it'll make you do your homework. It's on the tagline.
So
scary you want to do homework.
You're going to be doing math because of this. Yeah, so yeah, Jeff Goldblum and unfortunately turns himself into a human fly. Practical effects, body parts falling off. It's jacked. It is jacked. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can't digest your food, kids, this will show you how.
Don't do it. But back to number 2. Now, I haven't watched this one in a while. I don't hold it as high regard as the sequel, which is rare. It's kind of like with Star Wars. I feel that Empire is better than A New Hope. I feel that Aliens is better than Alien, though, again, as a thriller, as a what the hell's going on, definitely right up there. Because they just can't kill the damn thing. They're on this giant ship. There's only
they don't even know what it is. They don't know what to expect. I mean, it's totally Totally weird.
Yeah.
Ridley Scott really, I don't know what Ridley Scott did before this, but I mean, really took horror in a way that was considered highbrow in space, something completely really had not done before. So yeah, you just
Right.
see this mix of like different creators that took a franchise. Like, that's so bizarre that you got Ridley Scott walked away from it, but now Ridley Scott's sense is like, I'm just gonna kill everybody with aliens constantly.
Right,
I don't know why.
exactly.
Yeah.
Number one has absolutely earned its spot. John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982. Holy cow, the effects in this thing are just absolutely ridiculous.
Stan Winston was involved with that.
Yeah, but I just feel
Yeah.
it really stands up, but it's just very
Oh, yeah.
visceral. And then you're left at the end of not knowing if the last two guys make it, though you're pretty sure
Yeah.
that they don't. So
Yeah. I
just
didn't
nuts.
realize
Yeah.
this. The soundtrack, Ennio Morricone, if you know who that is, he did all of the soundtracks for like the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns. You know, those type of things. He did that, so it's very cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and then since then we've had a remake of The Thing,
Right.
and then beyond that we've had some video game, but really it kind of stands alone. John Carpenter, man, he was a master of the late 70s, early 80s, and then he made Escape from LA and Ghost of Mars.
Moving, which I believe we talked about at length on this program.
We saw it last year, Shirley. Come on.
Yes, we did. Moving on, new story. WandaVision's Matt Shakman beaming up to direct new Star Trek movie. Now, we did talk about this on Code, which was just out the other day, Code 47, our other podcast.
I'm sure there's lots of swearing about J.J. Abrams, though.
WandaVision director, executive producer Matt Shakman is heading to from the MCU to the Star Trek universe. Details are scant, which for me is a good thing because the film doesn't have a title, and Abrams is involved, which really scares me because it could steer us back in the direction of that little side pocket universe of Star Trek he created. What's interesting to me is that even though there was a production that was announced back around the beginning of April, this is a second movie production that is looking to come out the year after. So 2022 and I'm drawing a blank on the name of the creator who's handling
Noah Hawley.
No, not him. His name has been kicked about. It says was looking, but he's gotten the pause. But what is her name? Tarantino, thank God. No, I'm drawing a blank on her name. But it was a creator who was to great regard, and of course, Star Trek is having this great renaissance on television. So that's exciting. I love WandaVision. This guy did great things. Just keep it away from the Kelvin universe. Let it stay dead.
I've got to imagine it's dead. But I am curious I'm just curious to see, considering Star Trek is doing so many different things now, and they're touching every like medium. They're across the board, hitting comedy. They're in the future. They're in the past. Alternate timelines. Just having a good time with it. And I'm just curious what a Star Trek movie means these days. I really don't.
There's the thrill of seeing something on the big screen, but again, I want to see something that's meaningful. And from the perspective of someone who's a diehard fan who really knows every kind of corner of things related to Star Trek, you're right. I don't know what it's going to bring to the table. That's what I'm afraid of. What?
Yeah, I was going to say, even back in the day, it meant production values, right? The Star Trek movies always had higher production values than typically an episode of Star Trek. These days, though, to look at Discovery and Picard, they don't look like they're cheap. And they are spending a lot of money on those. They've got the full force of Paramount behind them. And I'm like, so it can only mean that maybe it's something that requires a two-hour run length, that requires maybe a different focus on Star Trek.
Maybe,
I mean, now the only thing I could think of, Charlie, now this might be cool, is it's maybe bringing together the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, maybe those casts in a legacy project, maybe that could do something unique and appease a lot of fans, but I don't know.
I mean, maybe, but you're starting to see that trickle into Picard, at least in bits and pieces.
Mhm.
But again, so many of those casts have gone their separate ways, and then you got Avery Brooks is nuts, and I just don't know. But yeah, you're right. If a focus of what you can see in the movies is these other characters coming back, and it really could be anything or something that ties back into a television program, so that it's like, here's the season finale of Discovery of season blank. See the conclusion this summer on the big screen. And that's the only way.
That's tough to bring in new audiences, though. So if you think about, that's why a movie is really supposed to be a thing that gets in a broader audience.
But finding a way to make it more accessible. So I don't know what the right answer is. I just know that tipping back in with the Kelvin universe and doing all the predictable things, and I just don't want to see it. I'll see it, but I don't want to see it.
No, I do think, though, a movie does open the doorway to a broader audience, because it's not something... And Star Trek right now, I feel, is very... It's in touch with the lore. Mm-hmm. Very much so. That doesn't always work for people that have not been traditional Star Trek fans. Sometimes
or Star Wars fans.
Exactly, either or. But so maybe that's where we're going to say, we need to get more people into the franchise, and maybe this is a way to do it, but doesn't piss off the standard fan base.
Right.
Maybe.
Right. So, you know what? All will be foretold. All right, moving on. Still in the world.
Hasn't been approved yet, Joe. Charlie.
What'd you say?
Once my script gets approved, then I'll talk more about it.
Oh, all right. Well, yes. All things must be kept under wraps. Well, this next one is all about you.
Yes. Comic-Con at home. So we essentially are not getting a real in-person San Diego Comic-Con yet. Apparently they're going to try something in November of this year in person. I don't know if that's going to work or if they're going to continue with that. I think next year will be the real proof of cons coming back. But in this instance, we are getting an online, free to participate Comic-Con. And quite honestly, it's going to happen, looking at the dates, so I can get it. It's July 21st and 22nd.
21 and 22. That's just a couple days from now. So
sorry, says okay. Here we go. Sorry. Unlike last year, Comic-Con will only run for 3 days, from July 23rd to 25th. Okay, that's a Friday through a Sunday, and instead of the usual 4. And it is going to basically, how do you attend? You just go to the YouTube page and watch. Okay. That's all it is.
That works for me in perpetuity throughout the universe. Because again, if there's programming to be seen, that's how most of us are going to see it anyway. So otherwise,
and traditionally we hadn't been able to, because they didn't really have a great way to share the panels without. That was just horrible to everybody unless you were there. Right. So this is a way. But to be honest, what's coming to the show is actually really interesting, and I think there's something for everybody. I looked at it and I actually shared some of the panels with my wife, and she's like, that's pretty cool because it's reaching out and doing more things. So I'll just run through it really quickly. Syfy is going to do Day of the Dead and Legacy of Chucky panels. There's going to be a Walking Dead, Creepshow, Doctor Who panels, which you'll be able to watch with those type of things. Netflix is doing a Master of the Universe panel, a Fear Street panel, a Lucifer panel, an Army of Thieves panel. Paramount Plus is doing a panel on Star Trek Prodigy and Star Trek Lower Deck Season 2. DC Comics will have Batman Fear State, DC Horror, Superman, Dark Knight's Death Metal, the soundtrack, and Wonder Woman Across the Multiverse. Amazon Prime will have The Wheel of Time, Evangelion, Leverage Redemption, and SOZ, Soldiers or Zombies. Adult Swim will be there with some panels. Cartoon Network will be there with some of their shows and having panels. Nickelodeon will be there with some content there. Snack Eyes. I've got Butterfingers in my eyes. All I can see is snacks. Snake Eyes will have a panel. Star Wars: The High Republic will have a panel, Charlie. Batman: The Long Halloween Part 2, the animated collection, will have also have a panel, and then they'll have some cosplay, like virtual cosplay stuff. They'll have creators talking about just authors, writers, just fans also having panels. So this to me is really exciting, and there's something for everybody. So I think this is cool. It's free, and it gets people excited about this stuff. Is something to get really invested in. Where normally, if you had to go to California, and good luck getting a ticket and flying out to California, San Diego. So I like what they're doing. I'm not sure about the Thanksgiving thing. I still think that's a hard sell to tell people, hey, you've been away from your families for 2 years. Why don't you go to San Diego?
Yeah, right. I see it as being a huge win.
Absolutely, yeah. So check it out. It's this weekend, folks. This will be out right when it's happening. So check it out on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Very good. All right. Well, up next we have your friend and mine, Dwayne Johnson, talking about Black Adam wrapping up. A true honor. It's been a true honor. Oh boy. But yeah, I love Shazam. Black Adam is the kind of the flip side of Shazam, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know a ton about the character, Todd. Is that pretty much how you would break it down?
Yeah, Black Adam is similar to like a Doctor Doom, where he's essentially superpowered, but he's also the leader of like his own country called Kahndaq. Yeah, so he's like a despot, just like Doctor Doom was with Latveria. So it's like very different. Very much, he was the one in Shazam, Charlie, they spoke to in the movie, that he was the one that just abused the powers.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. And even though this is a spinoff, it doesn't appear that any of the cast is shared with Shazam. So it's not connected. It's not connected in that fast. It's going to be totally independent.
I think eventually they'll meet, but this is kind of a way to just focus on a different area of this. And this is really going to focus on the Justice Society of America too, because he has a close tie to the Justice Society of America, especially Hawkman, which is just a great series. Jeff Johns wrote that series, and it was so good. So,
he does good stuff. Yeah, so looking like this has been pushed back several times. So now we're going to see it basically this time next year, July of 2022. I like it. I've become kind of a pocket fan of The Rock, kind of the same way I always was of Arnold Schwarzenegger. End up seeing his movies. None of them are fantastic, but I like him. And I'm not a wrestling guy, but I like him. I'm entertained by him. I think that he's fun, and seeing him. This is his first superhero-ish role. Am I remembering correctly?
It is.
Not counting the Fast and Furious
or the Scorpion King.
Oh God! Well, that wasn't him. That wasn't anything. It did not exist.
It was weird CGI back in the bad days of CGI. Yeah,
so rough.
Yeah. So this is cool. I mean, this movie's gonna have Noah Centineo, Aldous Hodge, Sarah Shahai, Quintessa Swindell, which is an awesome name, and Pierce Brosnan. So Pierce Brosnan is going to be Dr. Fate. So I cannot wait to see.
I know.
Basically, he is an anti-hero in a way, and we haven't really seen that except for Deadpool.
Right.
I like that.
Cool. I'm totally fired up. This will be fun. So, well, cool. Well, that wraps us up out of the news. So it seems like we got to buzz us up an Uber and get us on over to the Geek Easy to talk about what's cracking. So let's make it happen.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, the cover band's playing, drinks are poured, and masks are off because we have been vaccinated, folks. It's time to get our groove in. Cannot wait to have all the great cover bands coming back to the Geek Easy. It's going to be a fantastic year. I cannot wait to hear Van Weezer. I can't wait to hear, let's see, Counting Crows. And let's see, who's another good one?
Blink 163.
There we go. My favorite cover bands. Yes. There we go. We're getting ready to get our nerd on, folks. And for me, a couple of shows. And this first show, Surreal Estate on Syfy. My wife has been so excited about this show that we're like, okay, how are we going to watch this? So it's on Syfy. Very easy. Syfy puts all its shows on their app. There's just ads, which is perfect.
So it's like the CW, which is how we watch the Lois and Superman, which we just did today. We caught up.
Yeah, I don't know how long they leave them though. Like, I don't know if it's like they're there for 2 or 3 weeks and they go, or if there's like a certain amount of episodes they leave. But we're all in this. They released the first and second episode, which was nice. Just has ads. The ads aren't too bad, so I'll give them credit that it really made it easy to watch. We enjoyed it quite a bit. So the pitch for Surreal Estate is it's got 2 people from Schitt's Creek in it, which I just think is hilarious. So Schitt's Creek show we all love. I did not realize for the longest time that Dan Levy, we know his son's in the show. I didn't realize his daughter was in the show. Sarah Levy was Twyla, the runner of the cafe. Did not know that. So she is in the show. Along with that is the guy that dated Twyla also dated one of the other girls was Chris Elliot's son. He was the very handsome man with the beard in Schitt's Creek. Well, he's in the show too. He's basically the lead, and so is Sarah Levy. And he shaved his beard, but he's still very handsome. And the concept of the show very quickly is this is a real estate agency that sells the houses they can't sell because they have paranormal issues. They have just things are going on that does not allow them to be sold because essentially they're killing off the residents. Bad things are happening. Something bad happened there. And that's the premise of the show. Normally it'd be like, is this going to be a good sci-fi show or a bad sci-fi show? So far, this feels like a very good sci-fi show, which I'll give them credit. It's not like high end, but the writing is good. The plot is pretty monster of the week so far, but we know there's overarching storylines with people's past. And the cast is really good. I really enjoy them. It's fun. So the first 2 episodes really is establishing what the show's about, but it picks up pretty quick, and it doesn't overwhelm you with like lore and things like that. But it does let you know kind of how each player will play, how they'll interact, and kind of the effect of what they're going for, the rules of the universe, things like that. Very easy to get into, 45-minute episodes long, very fun, very procedural at this point, very monster of the week. See if they make it any different, but I will recommend it.
If you say, yeah, like I said, I that was news to me about the app, so interesting.
Yes, like that show Resident Alien that Alan Tudyk's on, it's there as well, so you can watch it there. That's a great show, Charlie. I'd highly recommend that show to you.
That I would, just because I enjoy him, I would like checking that out.
It's fantastic, and he's so good in that. So yeah, Surreal Estate, 2 episodes are out now. Next episode comes out Friday. It's a weekly release, so for some reason they launched 2 right away. So why not? Enjoy, guys. Next, Charlie, this is an interesting one. Wellington Paranormal. This is a show that is produced and kind of in the same universe as What We Do in the Shadows. So you think about the vampire or the comedy. This is about the police department in Wellington, New Zealand.
Oh my God.
And it's essentially about 2 cops who are partners. They says we're like Mulder and Scully, and we have very similar sexual tension, and the woman's kind of a short blonde woman who might be gay, and the guy's kind of geeky. So it's just a lot of weird, like goofy, weird humor. The chief is kind of leads up the secret department of the police department that investigates the paranormal, and it's just goofy. It's just like What We Do in the Shadows. It's a little lower budget than that show. It is made in New Zealand, and everybody is very new. It's like, are you Australian or New Zealand? We'll find out. But it's fun. I'm enjoying it. Every episode's like 23 minutes long. It's on the CW now, but it's coming to HBO Max.
So
okay. You can watch it either way.
Yeah, I was going to say, once it's at HBO Max, then you're commercial free, so that's kind of nice.
Absolutely. And it's just,
that's cool.
Monster of the Week. There might be some. We've only watched one so far. First one was about basically kind of like a possessed person, kind of like The Exorcist type of thing. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to hunt down this person who's possessed, and it's just goofy. I mean, lots of vomiting, lots of things getting possessed, and just,
Possessed vomiting. Isn't that delightful?
I'm amazed that they can survive the supernatural because they're just kind of incompetent too.
Oh my gosh, it is. It's the Keystone Cops of the paranormal.
Absolutely.
So me taking it over. We had talked about this, I believe, in the last episode. But the Fear Street over on Netflix. Now these were based off of the novel series from R.L. Stein. And I think we were watching that. I don't think April had figured that out, and I really wasn't aware. But at the end of it, there's like a super obvious reference to it that you're like, oh, okay, that's it. But everybody seemed to know that but us. But anyway, three telefilms, as it were. So they're, feature length, so over 90 minutes. But the first one was based in 1994, the Shady Side and the Sunnydale or whatever. And so you're delving a little bit deeper into this in the 1978 one. There's a summer camp. And it's total slasherville.
It's Friday the 13th.
Yeah, exactly. So it continues to expand upon the mythos. You meet the sheriff character that you meet in 1994. You see him as a young man in the 1978 one. You see, at the end of the 94 one, you meet the character played by I was going to say Gillian Anderson, who is Gillian Jacobs from Community.
Yes, Community. Yeah, at first I didn't realize that. I'm like, oh, it's her. Yeah.
Exactly, Britta. So it's Britta.
She's had a rough life.
She's had a rough life, but yeah, there's a little. She's like, oh, my sister got killed that day in 1978, and it's a big. Ty, you've seen it or you haven't seen it?
I saw 78. I've started 1666.
Gotcha. So anyway, yeah, in 78, yeah, there's a big whoopsie at the end that you're like, what? How did they do that? So, but yeah, so the whole purpose is that they're kind of, they're kind of playing it backwards. And once you get to 66, it's about 2 hours.
Not 1966.
Not 19. It's not. Yeah, it's not Batman with the bomb. No.
Back to Charlie's favorite era of smelly people, as he would say.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody stinks, so nobody stinks. You don't know how anybody's having sex, but still somehow it happens. But yeah, so this takes it back to your Salem witch trials era. So now Shadydale, Sunnydale is the crappy little scuzzy village, and there's devilry going on. But what's interesting about 1666 is that it's an hour of that time period, and then it jumps back to 1994, and
I thought they might do that.
It finishes the story. So, not going to say another word about it. Was very satisfied with the ending, how they pulled all the threads together. I certainly didn't necessarily know the villain was who it turned out to be. So I thought that was pretty sweet. So,
okay.
yeah. So yeah, Todd, go watch it, and then we'll talk about it.
I definitely will, and I was going to watch it with the wife but the gore is what really turns her off. And this series is hardcore gory.
Well, yeah,
oh my
God. You got axes being buried into heads and people's heads being put through a meat slicer. You can't really get away from that.
Yeah, and I did love the ending of 78 and where it took you. I'm like, I like the fact that in what I've saw of 6066 is they're reusing a lot of the actors, which is fun too.
Yeah, it's very like American Horror Story. Yeah, because you've got the actor who's our heroine in the first segment that obviously she's seen in the framing second the segments of 78, and then she's the main character in 66. Then obviously you jump forward back into 94 where she finishes the story. So not another thing to be said about it. Go watch it. It's excellent.
But someone mentioned, though, that they think this may be Netflix experimenting with weekly releases.
Ooh, and it was, and again, feature-length releases, so it wasn't
absolutely
just 22-minute or 43-minute.
This is the surprise of the summer, though. I'm so glad they did this.
I think so, and it's funny because that really dovetails into the other thing that I'm going to talk about, which is this was horror on the small screen. We went to go see a horror on the big screen because, of course, April and I, we love going to the movies. We have the VIP pass through our local theater chain, which means we can go see 3 movies a week, and it's it's paid for $20 a month each, or $40 a month total. We go and we have the refillable popcorn bucket, and you spend $5 on a soda, and the $5 on the sodas, that's your whole expense day of. So we went to go. There's just not a lot back at the theaters because things are just kind of coming back slowly, and some things obviously are also on HBO Max or they're on Disney Plus, like Black Widow. So the only thing that we really had to choose was the sequel to the movie Escape Room, which I'm assuming came out a year or two ago. We've not seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
We've not seen it, but absolutely everything in the first film was recapped in a 2-minute roll up at the beginning. Okay. The only actor I recognized was Deborah Ann Woll, who was Karen on Netflix's Daredevil. It's the only face I recognized. And it was just a bunch of know-nothings who got sucked into, there's an evil corporation that's dedicated to serving clients that like to see people die horribly. I swear to God, that's
it's like what's the name of the movie where it was like Hostel, right? Isn't that the same thing?
It was that, or it was like the and we just rewatched it because we own it, The Hunt with Betty Gilpin. Big boobs Betty Gilpin, as I like to call her. I'm a big fan.
Classy.
Yes, very nice. But this was beyond forgettable, and it was like PG-13 rated. There was no like serious gore. There was a lot of stuff hinted about
off screen.
Or it would happen on screen, but it was, I know, like in one scene, 2 of the characters you're rooting for get melted by acid, but it's pulled back so far and it's heavily overshadowed in CGI that maybe they're melting and maybe they're not. You really can't tell. So yeah, a lot of it is really implied, and then it has the absolutely corniest Final Destination ending. So huge failure, very dumb, not redeemable. So it makes me think that the real great storytelling is going to be on streaming services. Unfortunately.
So the greatest escape was when you escaped the theater.
Yes, exactly. And I escaped without
You won.
getting burned by laser beams or melted by acid, which were or electrocuted. Those were two of the escape room options. So yeah,
usually it's the key in the book that you have to look for. That's what I've learned from escape rooms.
The key in the book. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, before we leave, Charlie, though, because I want to get your thoughts on this because I don't know if you knew I saw this. Gunpowder milkshake.
Thumbs down in the worst way. Garbage. But anyway, you were saying?
I chose to watch this because I'm like, Chris, what do you want to watch? Do you want to watch 1666? No, it's gory. I'm like, well, what else? I'm like, well, Gunpowder Milkshake's on Netflix. Let's watch it.
Did not work out for you, I'm guessing.
Oh my goodness, Charlie. I didn't even get halfway through this. And we stopped.
It was horrible. It was an absolute, I'm looking at my laptop while it's on because it is so disengaging. Just did not care.
This is like John Wick, but like it's like the direct-to-video version that doesn't even has a different name, like James Candle,
Bomb Dick or something, right?
Oh, it's horrible. The writing was bad, the acting was bad, the plot was dumb. It just was. I don't even know what they're doing. I looked at the credits of people who did this. The guy who directed this has done a couple of independent things. The budget was $30 million. The writer has literally no credits, and I just don't know what they paid because there were some big names: Michelle Yeoh, Lena Headley, a few others. Gina, not Gershon, Gina. Carlo Gugino. That's who it is.
Yeah, which absolutely. Oh yeah, and like you said, Michelle Yeoh. So yeah.
And what's her name?
It was Nebula.
Yes,
yeah,
Amy Pond. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I don't even know why she signed up for this. Maybe she's maybe this will be her breakout. Maybe people like it. Maybe it's corny. But yeah, guys, avoid this like the plague. It is. I don't know how.
Jar Jar Binks would say that it's bad bombing.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, this is like a direct-to-video. Yeah. So, yeah, that's where we're at. So, yeah, don't see Gunpowder Milkshake, but we got a lot of other things you should see. So, there you go, Charlie. We're done with the Geek Easy, but we are now going to go to a better place where the mutants are hungry for entertainment, and we're going to deliver it. So, let's go in the Thunderdome.
Party!
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or game to be entertained. And this week, it's a topic. It is the Loki series review. Spoilers ahead. We're going to talk about all of the episodes, the major plot points, all of the reveals, and what we think is next for a Loki and the MCU on Disney Plus, and maybe the movies even there. We'll go with basically the good, the bad. Charlie has the indifferent, so I don't know what that means.
Why not?
And what's next?
It means it's a self-styled Huguenot. Just makes me think of Family Guy. Just throwing something in there.
Huguenots. I love the Huguenots. Jason and the Huguenots.
We'll put a strike through it. So that says clear for me. I was
usually it's pro cons in our score, which is fine. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Absolutely. I'll do what I like to put a strike through. There you go. It has a strike through now.
Yes,
okay, So yeah, Loki, 6 episodes, which is that's the kind of the new normal for these Marvel shows, short but sweet, because we've had 2 so far that were one and dones. WandaVision, not coming back. Captain America and the Winter Soldier turned into a movie, and then there's this, but it was not really talked about. I guess I assumed that this was going to be a one and done, but that was the big to do at the stinger at the end of episode 6 that the show will be back. But in addition to the show being back, it is now, they delivered on their promise, which early on they said this is going to be the show that's going to change everything. And I thought that's some cheap bullshit right there. That's just something to say for everybody to be like, ooh. But
everything changes at the end of the season. It's like Grey's Anatomy. Every season they say that.
Yeah. Oh, there's a plane crash, and I had my wife go through with me once all the radical bullshit that's happened in there.
Was it like a helicopter killed several people on that show, or was
it was a plane crash that killed 75% of the principal cast. so they could start over again. They killed off.
Don't they know you're not supposed to travel on the same aircraft? Because it's like, protecting the president. You don't put like the president, the vice president, secretary of state all on the same aircraft.
The cast of Grey's Anatomy can't do it.
Come on, Grey's Anatomy, what you doing?
Oh my God! All right, so let's start with the good. Todd, I want you to drive the bus because you're the Thor guy. This was the show you're most highly anticipated.
Sure.
So I'm going to riff off of you. So you go, and then I'll bounce back off of you.
Yeah. The good is, even though the show had huge repercussions, it felt very small of a show in regards of where it went, how many characters was involved. Really, it was, I'd say, 2 characters primarily with some like supporting cast, but it was really 2 characters and their journey together. It really made me enjoy Tom Hiddleston, where we really haven't got to do that. You got to see him do some really real strong acting, some heartfelt feelings. And it was hard because you were like, well, what are they going to do with Loki that hasn't had the change that the one in the movie did? Well, they took a different route getting there, and I loved it. I mean, it was just the way you got with the fact that you could say, can we make a same character go through a similar growth, but in a way we wouldn't have expected in a different path forward? And they did. They succeeded. This was a show that was only 6 episodes long, and maybe that's for the good versus the bad, because if you go 8, 12, sometimes you get down a path that's like that really deliver where you really did you cut the fat out or did you deliver what really was the best? And they had some unique moments that really made Tom Hiddleston get to explore different parts of his personality and his different interactions. So I really enjoy that. So I'd say my number 1, I like Tom Hiddleston delivered.
Yeah, quite literally. And I would say, 6 has become the new barometer for me as well, because the mini series, if you think about Marvel Comics themselves is a great example, because Marvel certainly, since I'm so on and off with my reading, but when I was a core reader, like, oh man, they're starting a new Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man series, and yes, this is going to be great. Well, it lasted for 20 issues maybe, and they're like, we're starting a new Miles Morales series, and it's so they would start them and stuff would run 10 issues, 12 issues, and it wasn't successful enough, and they would kill it. So Marvel seemed to shift their focus to doing these 5-issue limited series. Here's the story. It's going to start here and there. It'll probably spin off into other stuff because that's what comics do, but this is it. And it might be followed up by another 5 issues, because again, in a world where, now I sound like one of those TV announcers.
In a world.
Yes. Thank you. That's the name of this episode. In a world.
Don Cornelius, right?
Write it down. No, it's not Don Cornelius. That was Soul Train.
Don Furboso. I don't know.
Exactly. Secret Friends 334 in a world ... But yeah, we live in a world, as it were, where people's the attention spans are back to nothing, and having this all this different media coming at us, having quick bites of a story that you can enjoy, and then potentially anticipate, particularly with Marvel, that it's going to simply continue on. That is extremely appealing, because geez, I'm watching old episodes of Star Trek Voyager right now, and this is a 26 episode season, and a lot of filler and a lot of duffer episodes, and even the shows were longer back then. So it's 44 minutes, but before TNG they were 47 minutes each. So it's like less filler, more focus. The complete model of everything has changed. It's not advertiser driven, so you don't have to have sweeps episodes where crazy things happen. You can just tell a story in 6 parts. And it's soup to nuts, and then it falls into the stream with everything else that is the MCU. So this series did that, and it certainly could have found a point to end, because obviously it's moving on to touching these other, touching Spider-Man Far From Home. What is it? No Way Home. What the hell is the name of the Spider-Man movie?
No Way Home.
No Way Home, the Multiverse of Madness, Quadrophenia or Quantumania, the Ant-Man movie.
Pete Townsend joins the MCU.
He's like Teenage Wasteland. I don't know, is Roger Daltrey still alive? I don't know.
Yes, he is.
But for me, this really hit the button. And I was really excited with how they delivered that. And I have a con, but I'll touch it in a minute. But yes, I'm agreeing with you. I like it. It hit the right notes. It did get to flesh out Loki as a character. In not only the Tom Hiddleston portrayal, but obviously Sylvie, and then the alligator Loki, and Richard E. Grant, and the kid, and the boisterous guy with the Thor hammer, and so just so much going on here. And but yeah, fleshing out Tom Hiddleston's performance was really at the heart of this, and I think that they did it incredibly well.
Yeah, not many characters get to do that a second time, right? You don't get to tell their story kind of with the same destination, but in a different way, which they accomplished. Sophie was a great addition. I really expected, though, when this ended, to really see like her be revealed as, or what her new role would be. And we're kind of there. We don't know where she's going to go and what her appearance will be. Will she embrace a role as the Enchantress versus just being Sylphie and doing something else? I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. We don't know. And that's where the show left us, in a spot where it, to your point, opened up so many corridors to the unknown, and it's very exciting, and I can't see where it goes. I mean, and the supporting characters were fun. They were interesting. I mean, it was really it was the weird Lokis we got to meet, and they played it weird. They had fun with it. They brought in parts of the comics. We got Owen Wilson just getting to be fun and just be quirky, but still effective. And so I mean, and just, I love that they got off world. They went in the future. They went to different areas. It wasn't just, hey, now we're in Iowa. So, which kind of gets old. I want to see different parts of the Marvel universe and what we can do. And and I truly didn't know what was next. I mean, we kind of all guessed what we thought was going to happen. And while we were pretty close to our guesses, it wasn't exactly as how I thought it was going to play out. And I like that too. They played with our expectations, and they delivered something different. So overall, though, I think this was the most interesting. Well, and it's hard to say the most interesting, because WandaVision was completely different. Loki is completely different. Mm-hmm. The Falcon and Winter Soldier felt more standard.
MCU-ish,
for that kind of story. It felt like an improved version of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Felt like that's what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. should have been. So in a way, and then the next one we get is What If, and then after that we're getting
Hawkeye, right?
Hawkeye. So and that's going to be interesting too, because is that going to play out more like Falcon and Winter Soldier? Will it be more like the comic? In which we're going to have to read that comic, Charlie, the Matt Fraction comic, before that series debuts.
Right. The Fraction.
The Fraction, yeah. So did you have so just really going off the pros still, did you have any favorite moments?
This one was really packed with it, but oh my God, I'm less prepared than I should be. The Loki alligator was a great spin at here's our next cute character, and then it bites off President Loki's hand. So maybe not as warm and cuddly as Baby Yoda, but I liked / didn't like the whole Nexus at the end of time thing. But I can talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I enjoyed the alligator, the hand snap. I'm trying to think back to I'm drawing a blank here. I kind of like the weird random time frames they went to, going to the Renaissance Fair, being at the Roxanne Walmart in Florida during the hurricane. Just some really dramatically weird stuff. Dramatically weird stuff is really what made all the moments pretty great.
Yeah, I loved Richard Grant, the costume, the classic Loki that I never thought I would see. Totally awesome. The other Lokis we saw, which were straight out of a comic book, Loki for President. I really enjoyed just a lot of the elements that they had with the TVA, with Miss Minutes, some of the videos they used, just the aesthetic of the handheld device, and it made it kind of look like it was monochrome, like a Game Boy Color screen, where it was a little bit different. I enjoyed those pieces that made it feel like it was its own take, and I think the creator of the series just really got to have their own vision of what the world looked like. So I like that. And you know what? This is the first one that I didn't feel like had a lot of Marvel there weren't a lot of cameos in this that were MCU tied, except for Loki. So you really didn't have like, oh, here's so-and-so, or except for Sif. Sif was really the only crossover. So I like that it could be dependent on its own, but still have implications for a larger end game. And yeah, this was something where, yeah, definitely 6 episodes, and I would have liked more, but I'm glad leaving me wanting more was a good thing.
It was enough. It was just enough.
Yes.
It was not too much, and not too much that's a good thing. So I definitely dig on that. So, well, I have one con, and that's the only one that I can think of, and it's
a long con or a short con.
It's kind of a short con, or like a micro con or a passing con. Is that in the land at the end of time? This is a big pet peeve for me for a lot of stuff now, and I guess Fear Street was a good piece of it. Is that April and I watch stuff often really early in the morning because we're early risers because of the pets. They're worse than children. You got to get, because the cats start scratching if they don't get their treats, and it's just the dog's got to go out, and we're just like, all right, we're up. We're going to have our coffee. We're up. So when we watch one of these shows, when they drop, we do it. It's still dark outside. We do it with the lights off. And it becomes increasingly difficult if you try to watch it when it's not that one to see anything. Everything is so dark now. So in that episode where they're in the land at the end of time, there's all these great little Easter eggs. There's the Avengers Tower, but it's got some other weird name on it, and it's supposed to be a corporation owned by Norman Osborn. And there's like this thing and that thing, and I can't see any of it because the screen is too dark. They're filming in all these damn Instagram filters or whatever the hell it is, and I just can't make things out. So that part of it is kind of frustrating to me. I do love the Easter eggs. I just wish that it was easier for me to see them. But kudos to them for doing something funny and kind of going the extra distance. Again, like I said, it's a short con because in a way, I forgive them and I still like it.
At least it wasn't as bad as like Game of Thrones. That one episode was like, what the hell's going on? I cannot see anything. Yeah.
Right. I just, there's mood lighting and then there's just pitch dark. You got to crank
up your brightness setting, Charlie.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I did with that Game of Thrones episode, much to my extreme annoyance. I just did not like it at all. So I'm right with you.
All right. Well, a few cons. Once again, my con goes into pacing. I really liked where they were going. I didn't feel like there was a couple episodes I'm like, did they really do enough? Did they really push? Did they just really, were they self-indulgent? They covered more, so it felt like the episode felt more satisfying. Kind of like when they were in that planet trying to get to the train and then trying to get off.
Yeah, that was a slog. I gotcha.
But I mean, there was some character moments. I totally get that. So I was kind of like, But then when we got to the final episode, and I just kind of felt like wanting a payoff in that final episode. We got a small payoff, but by no means a really that's so satisfying. Yes, we know something is different, and we know Loki at the end, oh, you work in accounting or you work whatever. Basically, they didn't recognize him as Loki. And then you saw the statue of King up here, so we know we're in a different timeline or a different multiverse, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what that means though, and we won't know until we get to the next thing, which we don't know what is the next thing. Is it Hawkeye?
Right. So that's the long short con, is that you love it but you hate it because you find yourself in a position. It's like the end of Endgame or the end of Infinity War. It's like, but they lost. Because that's kind of the way this feels. It feels
it's timey-wimey too, right? It's like,
exactly.
So now, which is one of my least favorite things, is timeline stories, where it's like ultimately you get a pass to say we can do whatever we want because we can just say, oh, it's a separate timeline. So then it's like, does anything really matter? Then do they take away the stakes? Does it matter? Man. Is it engaging?
Are you telling me nothing really matters?
Exactly. Thank you. Scaramouche, my friend. Scaramouche. But yeah, so I mean, we'll see what happens. And I know a lot of people are lauding Jonathan Majors, his performance. Mm-hmm. I've got to say I was completely underwhelmed by him because I've seen him in other roles. And I know he was trying to be understated in a way, but I never felt at any King he felt more than just kind of just not there. It's kind of like we're going to get beyond you. He wasn't imposing. He wasn't threatening. He just felt like, I know what's going to happen. Then when he ran out of, he's like, I'm at the end and I can do this. So ultimately, I'm like, this is your big bad. His end game is kind of boring. I totally get it. He's kind of the guy. He's the accountant that's keeping the ledger straight, using his Excel spreadsheets to figure out what's going on. But what's the difference between killing him and Syfy just taking it over? Because essentially by killing him, she did take it over.
Right.
I didn't understand them. Like, it was the same end game, but for some reason killing him makes it worse versus, what does he go? He goes back to his own timeline and retires? Or
several. Yeah, exactly. Then you see the big reveal at the end when Loki is back in the TVA office, and what's the instead of the Time Masters, now there's just Kang. Or the one who shall not be named, or whatever the hell he calls himself.
Exactly. So I just understand killing him because was he going to transfer his time love to her or something?
Todd. Time Love is now the name of the episode.
Time Love and
Put
Authority.
It in there. Time
TV.
No, you know what? You don't have to do it because I'm taking
Time Love and Peace, Love and Understanding. Time, Love and Understanding. Yeah. I don't know. Whatever Elvis Costello always said. I mean, so that part was just like, yeah, we had to get there. I just think him being Kang, I just wanted a little more personality with Kang versus just, I don't know. I didn't think he delivered. I know a lot of people are like really excited because I think to a large extent, seeing an African-American actor be like a character who's going to have a big effect on this world, I think people were so excited about that they over-dramatized his actual performance, which I felt like was so-so.
It was as such. Yeah, he was a little slappy-wappy. It wasn't very villainistic.
He was going for like an maybe he was going for that performance, which I get. Just didn't blow my wheels off. Wouldn't be like he gets Best Actor for that.
Best actor. All right, yeah, so
exactly.
You stuck some stuff in here that I think I saw your little notes here. I think I saw some of these headlines. I didn't catch this first one about Nick Fury. So where did that get snuck in?
So the whole thing with Nick Fury, this is Charlie. What they're saying though is this is like the Nick Fury event when Nick Fury comes in and saying, "I'm making the Avengers." So they're saying this is ultimately is like that next level of what's going to happen to the MCU. It's kind of like when Nick Fury came in and said, you kind of like, oh, what could this be? This is that level of an event. So they're basically saying this branching timeline will potentially be more important than a phase 5. It'll be like phase 2, essentially, like the next era of Marvel and how they get there. Because as of right now, we don't have an end game planned. We don't have an Avengers plan. Yeah, we don't have an Avengers planned. We don't know what's next and where we're going. And is it going to be versus Kang and all of these alternate timelines, they come together? Right. Is it going to be Secret Invasion? Who knows? And they're saying this, though, opens the door to everything. Maybe this is what opens the door for the Fantastic Four. This is the event that does that. Maybe it's the
X-Men.
Yeah, so we don't know, but I mean that's to an extent that we talk about what's next, and maybe when I said I don't know what this impacts Hawkeye, maybe it impacts Hawkeye a little bit because maybe it brings in I'm blanking on her name, Mockingbird.
Oh yeah, well,
from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
because she's
or something like that.
Because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is it's very downplayed exactly. So
maybe it does that, and then we're gonna get What If. Maybe some of those storylines actually play out and impact the MCU. That could be a thing now because nothing is, and I don't know, is What If canon? Nobody knows.
Well, but again, what's canon? Because everything is now turning into the multiverse. So
it's up for grabs. Maybe that MODOK just shows up in on Hulu, just shows up and pisses off like almost like a Mr. Mxyzptlk, pisses off like real Thor. That would be hilarious. A little Cartoon Network guy. Hey, Thor, blah, 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 I'm going to kill you.
I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. So we don't know. I mean, this is part of that whole, what could it be? I mean, and in that sense, Charlie, I mean, this is what we wanted out of the Marvel shows. We wanted relevance, right? We wanted something to impact it. We didn't want a one lame cameo and that's all you got, and then you were happy with it. And then here's that dime store version of Deathlock that nobody liked.
Yeah,
with a bad cosplay costume coming together.
Dime store Deathlock. All right, what else? What else we got?
Yeah, so we've got one other storyline coming out of this. Is basically it says Marvel might have just answered a big question about Loki, and at this point, kind of talking about how the different timelines are playing out, and we had the Endgame time conundrum. We had basically the Loki timeline in the MCU. And ultimately, we had that, they said there was two events from a timeline that were kind of contradictory. We had the one timeline with Thanos in 2014, where he comes forward into 2023 with the Avengers. And then we also had the timeline with Cap and Peggy in the late 40s, where basically... Right. So I think what they're going to say is maybe this opens the door for Chris Evans to come back.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
And maybe play around with Thanos in the future.
And then there was that supposed Easter egg where in the first episode here of Loki, you saw as he's being walked through the hallway, you see someone jumping through a portal or being escorted through a portal that appears to be wearing clothing that is evocative of Peggy Carter, like she's being busted. Yeah. But again, that's the tail wagging the dog, as it were. So.
Yeah. So we shall see with all of this, and we have, and it was funny because I think there was even a spoiler. There's a Spider-Man figure coming out that was part of the No Way Home, and it looked like it was a Doctor Strange version of Spider-Man.
Yes. That was the story I shared a few days ago. So, yeah, they get ever closer to getting me kind of out of my commitment to get every Spider-Man figure they release for my multiverse shelf, because I'm like, but my son...
Too many.
My son loves those movies, and he eggs me on, so I'm going to blame him.
Yeah. Well, that is it. I mean, I don't know. We don't have to give it a score, but if I gave it a score, I would say it's a 7 out of 10 for me. I enjoyed it. It wasn't the best ever, but I think it delivered what it needed to do.
I'm right up there with you with the 7. I think that, again, these shows are all bringing us something different. They're offering a different layer of connectivity between the small screen and the big screen, which did not exist during the Infinity Saga, because we had the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and that was really half-assed. We had the Inhumans, which was no-assed. And now we have this connectivity, and, COVID has driven that, where stories are as equally as important. So now it's really incumbent upon these movies to connect with the momentum that we've gotten out of these 3 shows. Because right now, I think we know that Black Widow did not so far, at least in the opinion of what we've been talking about. So yes, I will be very interested to see the delivery, the end game.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would rank so far, we've only got 3 Disney Plus MCU stores. WandaVision number 1, Loki number 2, and Falcon the Winter Soldier 3 for me. I would
put it somewhat backwards, that the Winter Soldier thing was my jam. Loved WandaVision. The wife really dug it. And then, but I would probably put Loki ahead of that too. So slightly different, but anyway, teach their own. I dig it.
Absolutely. Well, folks, we'll then have to wait till August till we get the next MCU TV show. So wait for it until What If comes to Disney Plus. We'll be excited for that one. It's about a month away.
What if, no if. And with that is the end of the program. So I am going to thank you as always for joining us. Friends, we always have a good time. But to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
It's gonna be Kang. And it was.
Podcast you just listened to is part of the Secret Friends Podcasting Network. Find us over at secretfriendsunite.com for our 4 awesome shows: Co-op Mode, Code 47, The Holocron Chronicles, and Secret Friends Unite. Please rate and subscribe to us on iTunes and also over on our YouTube channel. Find us over on Twitter at SecretFriendsU, and find our merch store over at TeePublic.